Alright, all you glorious gamers out there, welcome to the PlayersToo Podcast, the video game podcast for gamers like you, by gamers like you. You can find PlayersToo on all the social media, that's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the lot. You can also find our written content over at PlayersToo.com, that's PlayerStoo.com. And if you could take 5 seconds to give us 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts, that really, really helps us out. It does a huge amount for the exposure of the show, and thank you so much to anyone that's already done that for us. Alright, and on with the show. My name is Mark Henderson. With me, as always, Mr. Lewis Cameron. How's it going, Lewis?
Not too bad at all, Mark. Still got a slightly gravelly voice, but definitely mended from
Much improved from the previous 2 weeks.
It's been a long session on this flu.
It certainly has. You've sounded miserable for a very long period of time.
But yeah, it's been nice getting some game time just because I've not been capable of doing very much more than that. How about you? How you doing?
I'm alright, man. I'm alright. I'm quite excited for this podcast because this is our Game Awards special, Lewis.
Yes, it is, yeah. The Game Awards have been and gone.
They have indeed. A lot of interesting talking points, so I think we get stuck right in. So it'll be a slightly different format this time, I suppose. We're not going to talk about what we've been playing, we're just going to go through the Game Awards, the awards themselves, then the announcements that came out of the Game Awards, because the Game Awards is both these things in a beautiful crescendo of gamingness totally, all at the one time. It's superb, and I love it every year.
Good stuff, yeah.
Alright, and straight into it then. The big one, Lewis. Game of the Year.
So yeah, this is for recognising a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. The Daddy.
The Daddy indeed. The nominees for this one were Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Outer Worlds. But the winner, Lewis, was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. A bit of a shock, I would say. A shock winner here.
Yeah, so it was the last award up on the night, and yeah, it really was a bit of a surprise. I think we'd obviously spoken a bit. Well, we both plumped for Death Stranding, and
we did,
and that was even before you'd played much of it at all. But it just felt like that was what was in the air, and you know, it was the big talking point at the end of the year, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. We
both also thought Resident Evil 2 had such a good shot at winning this. It's been a mixed year, I think, for the really big games out there, and that one is just for a lot of people held out throughout. I mean, that came out in January, right? Like,
yeah,
it held out
nearly a year ago.
The whole year as one of the absolute pinnacles of gaming this year. I mean, bloody Smash Brothers even longer ago, but it's a slightly different thing, I suppose. What was your take on Sekiro scooping it?
I think that this is fantastic for Miyazaki. I think that he has created a genre of games unto themselves, and I don't really think he's got the critical recognition for that. Despite the fact of how important his games now are in the modern zeitgeist of video games, I don't really think he's got quite the critical accolades like this that he perhaps deserves. So therefore, I am extremely happy about this. I was totally shocked. I never thought really that it was going to win. I did actually say on our predictions podcast that this was a bit of a dark horse and that someone who'd played the game more than me could make a very strong argument for why this game should win Game of the Year. It was a shock to me, but I'm quite happy about it. I think, to be completely honest with you, I
think that's the thing. Like, we should say, while we're saying it's a shock, it's not a shock because it doesn't deserve it at all.
It's not. No, absolutely. I'm not saying for a second that this doesn't deserve it. In fact, I'm saying quite strongly that it almost certainly does.
Totally, yeah. And I wonder though why like this gets it over other From games, Bloodborne, the Dark Souls series. Yeah, like they haven't. They are really honestly critically acclaimed, but it's the accolades, like you say.
It was probably a weak year overall.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably when it comes down to. I mean, Death Stranding is divisive, to say the least.
Totally, yeah.
Resident Evil 2 Remake is a bit of a surprise, honestly. Like, I really thought that if it wasn't going to be Death Stranding, it was going to be Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I don't know, maybe the two of them kind of split the vote a wee bit, and then that left the door open for the second one. Like, I don't know, obviously that's all speculation, but like, I know Control had its fans, The Outer Worlds had its fans, including me. I mean, that's probably what I would have voted for here in reality. And Smash Brothers, I mean, is just an absolutely outstandingly good game for what it is. I would struggle to give it Game of the Year, but an absolutely superb game, and I can completely understand why it's there. Yeah, ultimately, I'm pretty pleased for Miyazaki. I think he totally deserves it, honestly.
Yep. And a nice way to cap out the show. A bit of a surprise, and some accolades for a game that really, like, people were really excited about at the start of the year, and it maybe faded from the conversation. And it's good to get over that kind of recency bias thing as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Well done, guys.
Well done indeed. Well done. All right, next up was Action Game.
So that's for the best game in the action genre, focused primarily on combat.
Nominees for this one were Apex Legends, Astral Chain, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Gears 5, Metro Exodus, and the winner was Devil May Cry 5, Lewis.
Certainly was, yeah.
Now, I think that obviously a lot of Americans vote on these awards. In fact, probably the vast majority of the people that vote on these awards are Americans. And I don't know, like, I just think that those games vibe so much more over there than they do here, perhaps. I've never really come across people that are like really, really diehard Devil May Cry fans over here. But maybe I'm totally wrong about that. But yeah, it simply wasn't for me. The game wasn't for me. Me and you both played it together. I think we were both pretty much thinking the same thing at the time, that this is a cheesy disaster.
Yeah.
I really didn't think that the combat was anywhere near as good as older action games of that type, mainly Bayonetta, but also Nier Automata comes to mind, that were just better than that. to be completely honest with you, were more interesting. I thought Astral Chain looked at its surface more interesting, but look, it's got a diehard legion of fans behind it, and I probably shouldn't be as surprised as I am that it won.
It kind of just slipped me by that even when we were doing the predictions, it never crossed my mind that it could win this, but it did review so well at the time, and like you say, there are enormous fans out there of that game and of that series. It probably says something about us as gamers, really, that we hadn't actually played very much in this category at all, and we just didn't think that Devil May Cry was any good whatsoever when we did play that. So
yeah, I mean, I must admit, when I was getting, like, I'm sure its Metacritic scores like in the 9s, and I was just playing the game, and I was like, and what
did not feel like that at all.
I was just like, this is so far away from what I would consider a 9. But I don't know, folks like different games, that's all good, but I think other games probably deserve that, to be honest. Put it this way, I think that if that game wasn't a Devil May Cry game, I don't think it was even in with a shout there.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I wonder about that, definitely.
Alright, next up was action/adventure game.
Yeah, so that's for the best action-adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving.
This was between Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2 Remake, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Remake, and the winner, Sekiro again. Sekiro again. Shame to see Link's Awakening not getting up. I mean, the thing is that we're going to go through these awards, and there's very good games here that I feel got snubbed a wee bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Resident Evil 2 Remake is an absolutely cracking game. Really, really good game, and it didn't get anything here.
Yeah.
And again, Link's Awakening Remake is just superb. It's just it's an absolute classic game. The remake is superb. I absolutely love the art style. I know some folk thought it was a bit too cutesy and whatever, but it really, really works in the context of the game. And yeah, just unfortunately, a bit of a swing and a miss.
Yeah, and up against some strong competition. I wonder if your same point about splitting the vote comes into play here, because obviously a lot of people won't have voted for Death Stranding very highly, and maybe a lot of people would put Sekiro near the top of their list, if not actually on top of it. And I suspect as well the kinds of people voting on these, particularly for Resident Evil 2 and for Link's Awakening, there was that whole debate, there always is, like, can a remake be named Game of the Year, or or win these major categories? Is it fair to have something that has already come out 25 years ago? We heard a lot of kind of, not backlash exactly, that's far too strong a word, but particularly around Link's Awakening, with people going, this is just the same game, like, I did play this in 1994 or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose that's the difference between the Resident Evil 2 remake and Link's Awakening remake. The Link's Awakening remake was a carbon copy of the old game.
Exactly, yeah.
Whereas the Resident Evil 2 remake, I think you're almost doing it a bit of a disservice. It's almost like a reimagining, isn't it?
It's sort of, yeah, but it's still, like, not totally original, and I think that bothers some people.
I'm not trying to claim that it is either. Yeah. It's not totally original, but it's far more original than Link's Awakening, I think. But yeah.
And just a wee nod there at Borderlands 3 as well, which we've been playing, and it's still way surpassing my expectations of it.
Really?
It's not the kind of game
that
I play very often, and it is full of problems. It's a buggy old mess, but it's great fun.
Good fun.
Yeah.
Can I just say, ladies and gentlemen, playing split screen on that Borderlands 3 is rough. Yeah. The lag is disastrous.
On an OG PS4 that is absolutely breathing its last.
It's alright, new generation, right in the corner. It'll last, have faith. Alright, next up was Art Direction, Lewis.
For outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation.
Nominees in this one were Death Stranding, Grease, Control, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Sekiro, and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Lewis. And the winner was Control.
Yep.
I was a bit surprised at this, I've got to say, but you picked it.
That was my pick, yeah, and I could say some controversial things here. I think that is precisely the award that Control deserves to win here, because I think that game, the more and more I think about it, that game is art direction and style more than it is substance or gameplay. We could argue about that forever.
I don't think that's true, but at the risk of getting into a heated debate for 20 minutes, I'll let that one slide.
Yes, I got it past him. Yeah, honestly, I think that Control's art style, even though it was slightly problematic on, again, an OG PS4, some of the really gorgeous stuff that game could do wasn't really available to us on the systems we were playing on.
So this was the ray tracing technology.
Particularly that, yeah.
Used a lot within the game.
Obviously. Yeah, just every other detail within it, all the use of lighting and of fonts even, and it's kind of
only you would bring out fonts.
Just the big, the way that big, when you enter a new area, the text would flash up on screen.
Yeah, it was cool.
That coupled with the sound design was so well done. It was quite different to a lot of other games. But yeah,
better than Link's Awakening, better than that art direction, better than Death Stranding.
God, I mean, hard to say.
To me, this was almost as surprising as Sekiro taking Game of the Year.
Really?
I would have had Control won in other categories than this one.
Yeah.
I must admit, particularly against the competition, and I think there's very strong cases for art direction in Greece and Sayarana Wild Hearts.
Oh, for sure,
well.
yeah.
But yeah, Control takes it. Control takes the one. Next up, sound design.
So this is recognising the best in-game audio and sound design.
Nominees for this one were Control, Death Stranding, Gears 5, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and the winner, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Always pick the shooters list in the sound design category. Always pick the shooters.
You absolutely nailed that. Yeah, your analysis, I think, was pretty much spot on in our predictions podcast. So yeah, the fact that you can essentially map out a battlefield and all the zooming bullets around it through sound design is pretty incredible.
Yeah, say what you want about Call of Duty, right? But the amount of sound design that does go into that is truly remarkable. And I just know that the amount of sound design that goes into shooters in general is insane. Absolutely insane. Anyway, moving on. The next one is community support, Lewis.
Yeah, so it's quite a strange award recognising a game for outstanding community support, transparency and responsiveness. And I think this is the first time that they've done this.
Yeah, so I think that this is just trying to acknowledge the ongoing game, effectively. And I think you see a lot of the awards trying to realise that gaming is changing, and yeah, this is definitely one of them. The nominees were Apex Legends, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, and the winner, Destiny 2. Probably no arguments there. Bungie have been pretty great with that community overall, and that community's not really been great with Bungie sometimes.
Well, exactly.
But I think that they've always been pretty responsive, and I've always tried to support their community, and I think since the split with Activision as well, I think that's just got a lot more, it's just got a lot easier for them as well.
Totally, and all the kind of noise and clamour and, like you say, the fans not being great to Bungie, it seems to have really died down since that split. So fair play to Bungie. Tough category, some great games and some great teams there, but Destiny 2 just seems to be
just constantly on it, aren't they?
They are, and it's a game that people still want to play all the time and people haven't fallen off of massively. So yeah, fair play to them.
Moving swiftly on to Best Nintendo Game, Best Family Game Awards.
Yeah, for the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform.
Irrespective of platform is interesting though. Okay, so the nominees here were Ring Fit Adventure, Super Mario Maker 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Yoshi's Crafted World, and the eventual winner was Luigi's Mansion 3. All Nintendo games, of course. But to be honest with you, Luigi's Mansion probably a worthy winner. I know you're far more excited about it than me, but to me, I would have been very tempted to give this to Ring Fit Adventure because I do think that what it's doing is really cool, and by all accounts, for what it is actually pretty good. But I can totally understand why it's been given to Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm not sure there's too much to say about this, but I know that you're far more excited about it than I am, as I said.
I just think it looks really fun. I'm going to try and play it over the Christmas kind of break. And yeah, like you say, congratulations to Nintendo for nailing this category. Some of their games...
It is the Nintendo category.
It totally is. And they're all fairly different types of games. I'm still not certain that Smash Brothers really belongs there, but I can see why. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 just seems to fit the category perfectly and still also be a really good game for anyone. So
yeah, totally agree. Next up was Fighting Game.
For the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat, funnily enough.
Shocking. The nominees here were Dead or Alive 6, Jump Force, Mortal Kombat 11, Samurai Showdown, and the winner, of course, it could not have been anything else, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It couldn't have been anything else, could it have?
No.
Mortal Kombat 11, superb fighting game. Samurai Showdown, again, by all accounts, superb game. Jump Force, pretty confident it shouldn't have been there. But Dead or Alive 6 is basically just more Dead or Alive. It was, I don't know, I never ever felt as if Dead or Alive quite reached the heights of other fighting games, to be honest with you. And Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, quite frankly, is the ultimate Super Smash Bros., which is the ultimate brawler. And it's incredibly fun. It is an amazing homage to all of gaming, not just Nintendo. and it thoroughly deserves this.
Totally. I mean,
Thoroughly deserves
there's almost nothing else to say. Yeah, it is an absolutely incredible game in its own right, and then for all the reasons that you said as well, like its relevance to gaming, just literally how fun and enjoyable it is to dive into the different characters and worlds and stuff, how many new games and characters you discover while playing it that you've never come across before or don't know very much about. It is, if you've not played it and you have the ability to play it, give it a bash. We had never played, or had barely played a Smash game before we started playing it.
Yeah.
It took a hell of a lot of getting used to, but
it really did.
After a couple of weeks, a couple of nights even, we were just so keyed into it.
Even the learning process is just so fun.
Exactly.
It's just so fun to find out what characters kind of suit you, and there's just so much choice as well. It's crazy. It's the biggest roster of any fighting game ever, is it?
I think it must be.
Probably not. I'm sure someone out there has some obscure fighting game that has 2 million characters or something like that, but it's tremendous. It's an absolutely fantastic
and still
game.
being supported well over a year after it's been out.
Well, in actual fact, we'll get into it in the announcements, but there was chat that the next character would be announced here. It wasn't, unfortunately, but that's still to come, and we know that there's another pass coming after this one as well. So yeah, Sakurai will be kept busy for time yet, Liz. Okay, next up was Fresh Indie Game presented by Subway.
Yeah, so this is recognising a new independent studio that released its first game in 2019.
Okay, the nominations for this are Nomad Studio for Greece, Dead Toast Entertainment for My Friend Pedro, Mobius Digital for The Outer Wilds, Mega Crit for Slay the Spire, House for Untitled Goose Game, and the winners, Zaum, I think is how we're saying that, for Disco Elysium. Called it, man.
You did call it, yeah. This is such a tough category. Some amazing games there.
How healthy are indie games, by the way?
Extremely.
This is a weak year, and look at those games.
I mean, yeah, again, like even last year, which was an absolutely stellar year for gaming, so much of that was because of how good indie gaming was. And again, this year, I mean, those are all brand new games from brand new studios. They are all endlessly inventive. They are all, the ones that we've played and the ones that we've not played, by all accounts, are incredible, always pushing boundaries. There's so much in that. You could play each one of those games and that could be all the games you play for a year, and you would be satisfied with your year of gaming.
Sure you would. Again, just another game, while we were talking about things that are overlooked, The Outer Wilds, I know, was many people's just full-on game of the year. I know that it was certainly up there for you as well. Something I've not played yet, but I'm definitely going to get around to. Unfortunately, it just seems to have missed on a lot of these categories here, quite frankly, to Disco Elysium.
Pretty much, we'll come on
to. But Disco Elysium, the depth and the ingenuity of that game, what they're trying to do for a studio that is a fledgling studio, small, and I've just done something so incredibly interesting and incredibly innovative. So have the guys, the Outer World guys as well. My Friend Pedro as well. Like, it was just such a crazy, interesting game. Slay the Spire, I know, has a huge following. The folk absolutely love that game. Untitled Goose Game is the gaming meme of the year,
absolutely.
I suppose. And Greece as well is a really artistically beautiful game, and I think any of them could have walked away with that quite happily, and I would have probably been happy for any of them to walk away with it. It was a very close category, but Disco Elysium and Zaum Studios taking the win there. Next up was Game Direction.
So this is awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design.
Nominees for this one: Control, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, The Outer Wilds, and the winner, Death Stranding. Got to give it to Hideo, don't you?
Well, you did.
Vote for the director that we know his name.
Yeah. I mean, there is that, yeah.
Well, Miyazaki as well, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is a really tough category. Almost perfectly mirrors the actual Game of the Year nominations. I was so glad to see Outer Wilds put in there, and I plumped for it just because...
you wanted it.
But partly because I wanted it, and because I do think it is doing something that no other game does in terms of what it's, both how it tells its story and the mechanics that it kind of employs. Nothing else on that list is anywhere close to it. Obviously, Death Stranding, though, is this a massive piece, because this award goes beyond the idea of story. It's how story and design interrelate, and
of course,
Death Stranding has that in spades. It is telling its narrative through the repetition of its loop. Essentially, without that, there almost is no narrative. You can't really have a story in that game without the things that you have to do. So it kind of perfectly marries those two things up. I still think Outer Wilds would have been if it was going to win anywhere, that would have been a really good one for it to win. But a tough category, and yeah, you've got an industry legend nominated. So
absolutely coming up against some tough competition there, but definitely deserves its nomination, and I'm glad that it's nominated as well. Always good to see the indies do well. Next up, Games for Impact.
So this is for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message.
Nominations here were Concrete Genie, Kind Words, Life is Strange 2, Sea of Solitude, and the winner, Greece. Probably fairly predictable, although I have heard more and more awesome stuff about kind words.
Yep, yeah. I'd read a wee bit about it before.
Really interesting and a really, really cool idea. If none of you have ever heard of kind words, go and Google it. We won't get into it too much now. It looks really interesting, actually. It looks really cool.
I mean, all of these games are, they're using the medium of games to say something bigger or more profound or more personal. So,
absolutely.
I mean, again, great just to have this category and to have some great games there. I keep hearing really amazing things about Life is Strange 2 and how well it ended.
So Life is Strange 2 has just ended.
Yeah.
I think only a couple of weeks ago its last episode came out, and I think you and I were the same in that we were waiting for this point to now go back and play it.
Totally.
And I think it did end really strongly, and I'm really happy to hear that, because I think that it started strongly. I think that there was a bit of a lull, but to see it cross the finish line with gusto is very good, and I will definitely be playing that. In fact,
100%.
I might try and also play that over Christmas, because it's usually a Christmas game for me. I usually sit in a couple of free days in January and just do it in like 2 sittings or something like that.
You've not played Greece yet either, though, right?
I've not, but I now own Greece, so I will be playing that at some point soon as well, when Pokemon's done, I reckon. Feels like a Switch game to me.
Yeah, totally.
Next up, independent game list.
So this is for outstanding creative and technical achievements in a game made outside the traditional publisher system.
Nominees here: Baba's You, Katana Zero, There Are Wilds Again, Untitled The Goose Game, and the winner, Lewis, Disco Elysium. My punting for Disco Elysium's boding well in our predictions.
It is, yeah. And you a couple of nights ago when we were texting back and forth about this, Mark said he thought maybe he had buggered his predictions.
That's only because a lot of other outlets, and I think Polygon gave their out-and-out game of the year to the Outer Wilds, and I knew that it was probably between Disco Elysium and Outer Wilds for a lot of these kind of indie categories, a lot of these kind of smaller categories that aren't going to be won by Hideo Kojima, basically. and I basically punted for Disco Elysium just because I thought it was doing not something more interesting than Outer Wilds. I don't really mean that, but I think that Outer Wilds has more of a chance of rubbing you up the wrong way.
I would imagine so, yeah.
So I just think that if the vote were split, maybe it'd be split a bit more in Disco Elysium's favour, and it seems to have kind of come out that way. What I'm sad about is the game that I probably really wanted to win this is Baba's You. It's a game that I've not played. I mean, sadly, in the independent category, I've not played any of those games, which I think might be a first. It might be a first for me not to have played any of the nominated indie games. But if I had to pick one that I thought was just great, and it's just made of logic puzzles, and I really do love that shit. I'm a total nerd for that. And I would have loved to have seen it won. I mean, everything that you say about it just makes me want to play it more.
Totally, yeah.
But Disco Elysium, I just think for what that game is doing, for the size of studio that they are, on the budget they were probably on, is pretty remarkable. Really.
Yeah, and they sort of landed quite late in the year, and so obviously there's the kind of recency bias thing, which maybe comes into play. But I actually think what that did,
recency bias is real. For
sure it is real, but not that. I mean, Baba's You came out months and months and months ago, but I don't think it would ever have kind of caught enough attention because it is quite a niche type of game. It felt like not only was Disco Elysium recent, it came from nowhere. Like no one was really talking about it until it sort of landed, and everyone went, "Jesus Christ, this is incredible!" And so I feel like that swell just took it over the line because people were loving Katana Zero at the start of the year as well.
Katana Zero as well, like absolutely superb game that I want to at some point get back around to playing. God knows when, but I do definitely want to get back around and play it again. Okay, next up was mobile game list.
For the best game playable on a dedicated mobile device.
Nominees are Grindstone, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Sky, Children of the Light, What the Golf, and the winner, Call of Duty Mobile. Lewis, and a front. I
think you called this a table flip moment, didn't you?
I called this a table flip moment. Lewis, this feels like a table flip moment. That sounds like me. What the Golf. I do not know how What the Golf has not won this.
Yeah.
It is an outrage. What the Golf might be the best mobile game I've ever played.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like Call of Duty wins it simply because it's impressive to have got Call of Duty onto mobile, but...
And don't get me wrong, that is genuinely impressive. Yeah. And apparently, the actual experience of playing Call of Duty on a mobile phone is surprisingly good. But I don't know, there was just such creativity and heart and What the Golf, and I don't know, I'm just sad to see it fall to the colossus that is Call of Duty.
I think, as you said there, like there's so much sort of heart and creativity in all of these other games, and Call of Duty is the one. I'm not saying for a second it's not great.
It is a fantastic technical achievement.
Completely,
and probably a very good game.
It's exactly that, though. It's a technical achievement. Is it a groundbreaking game? No, it's just Call of Duty. It's just the same Call of Duty that it's always been.
Still Call of Duty.
Yeah,
that was probably the one I was most disappointed with. Right? I'm not going to lie to you. I was pretty disappointed for What the Golf. I thought they thoroughly deserved that. Okay, next up was multiplayer game.
For outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform.
Nominees were Borderlands, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Tetris 99, Tom Clancy's The Division 2, and the winner, Apex Legends. Now, I would have loved to have seen Tetris 99 win this. That would have been brilliant. But ultimately, I think that the best multiplayer game that came out this year really was Apex. When that first came out back in March, I want to say, it absolutely took the world by storm, and rightly so. I thought it was doing something very interesting in the Battle Royale genre, which had become very stale very quickly. I've actually kind of planned to go back to it since they released their new map and whatever. It was definitely my favourite Battle Royale.
Oh, yeah.
By quite a distance. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to say on it. It thoroughly deserves this one.
No, yeah, we both plumped for it, and as much as I was saying earlier, Borderlands 3 is great fun. Like, all these games are solid in their way.
But I wonder about so this is for multiplayer. I wonder if the multiplayer aspects hold up quite to that level. Not saying that they're bad in any capacity, but I just wonder if they're quite at the heights of, say, Apex and your Call of Duty.
Yeah, and like you say, Apex shook up that genre, which was the dominant genre at the time, so absolutely fair play to them for taking that one.
Next up was narrative.
So this is for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game.
Nominations for this one were A Plague's Tale: Innocence, Control, Death Stranding, The Outer Worlds, and the winner, the surprise winner. This is a big win for Disco Elysium again, and I called it this.
You did call it, yeah. This is one of the ones that surprised me as well, because as much as
that is a huge one,
as you said on the predictions podcast, like Disco Elysium is its narrative, but it's also absolutely its systems and the depth of all of those. And I did think that something slightly more straightforward. I plumped for The Outer Worlds. I wondered if Control might win it, even though it doesn't really have a kind of satisfying ending. A Plague Tale: Innocence, weird that it is the one place it showed up, and it's,
well, to be honest with you, it is story again. Yeah. I mean, it's not a game that I've played, but weirdly it's a game that I've seen played.
Yeah.
It looks quite interesting, to be honest with you. It was nothing that particularly grabbed me, but I certainly don't think that it's bad from any gameplay perspective or on its narrative, and to be nominated here, I'm sure it probably is very good.
That's what I was getting at. Like, it's up against some huge contenders, so it must be doing something right, you know?
Well, and to that very point list, for Disco Elysium to take it, I really want to play that game, man. I really want to play that game. I cannot wait. I'm still waiting for it to come to consoles, because there's too much else for me to play just now, and quite frankly, it's a good excuse for me to put it off. Mm-hmm. But man, I really, really want to play it.
It really
want to play it.
Depends when they say that it's coming to console, though, doesn't it? Because if it's pitched at the wrong time in 2020, it's going to be difficult to get to it. I
mean, I have to think that I'll get around to it at some point. Like, I really want to play. Like, I want to play it now, but I just want to play it on a console.
Well, yeah, I just worry that, like, because at the moment I think it's only PS4 and Xbox we know it's coming to, and if they announce that for like the window that Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy 7 and all that are coming out, like, it is going to be very hard.
I think it'll probably be after that in reality. Yeah. My guess would be summer, June, July.
I think they'd be better doing it in like January, capturing the attention of all this. It's probably not doable.
I mean, I think that would be great, but I'm not sure how doable that is. That's the problem, the turnaround there. Again, this is a fledgling independent studio. The turnaround for that would be remarkable for them. All right, next up is ongoing game.
So that's awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time.
Nominees for this one: Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, and the winner, how could it be anything else, Fortnite.
Yeah. There's barely anything needs said beyond the word Fortnite, really, is there?
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I think what they've done with their chapter, I mean, say what you like about Fortnite. It's not my thing. I know it's not your thing either, Lewis, but Epic's ability to continue to create amazing moments for that community, and what an unbelievable moment that black hole was to start off chapter 2. Just incredible. Absolutely fantastic. And the community's still there. You know, it's still there. Next up was performance.
Awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion and or performance capture.
Nominees were Ashley Birch for Parvati in The Outer Worlds, Courtney Hope for Jesse Faden in Control, Laura Bailey for Kate Diaz in Gears 5, Matthew Peretta for Dr. Casper Darling in Control, Norman Reedus for Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding, and the winner, Mads Mikkelsen for Cliff in Death Stranding. Now, I've not played enough of Death Stranding to know if his performance is better than Norman Reedus's, but God, he's a very good actor. He's a very, very good actor. Yeah, he's very good.
I mean, of all of these actors, he's the kind of highest caliber, kind of generally speaking. Anyway,
but I mean, Norman Reedus like is definitely a name out there as well, and is a good actor for what he does. But Mads Mikkelsen is genuinely one of the best in the world.
Yeah, he's like a proper A grade actor. So like, it's not surprising in a way. The role, even I'm much further on in the game than you are, and his character and his performance is much more prevalent.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I'm just not at a point for me to respect that performance.
You'll basically just be getting kind of like the wee snippets every so often now that you get.
I've seen him button snippets.
Yeah, to be totally honest, I haven't seen a great deal more than that. He's much more present in my game, but you don't. There still isn't tons and tons of him. I expect that at the very end of the game, there's going to be quite a lot. Or not the very end necessarily, but the kind of final sequences. So I'm still looking forward to seeing the best of him. It is still a great performance. I still, as I plumped for it in their predictions podcast, I think Matthew Peretta's performance in Control was superb. Absolutely superb. Really, really brilliant.
It was also live action acting as well, unlike the rest of them. I too thought he was a bit of a dark horse, but I mean, in reality, I think that was only going to Norman Reedus or Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Next up was role-playing game.
So this is for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences.
Nominees were Final Fantasy XIV, Kingdom Hearts 3, Monster Hunter World, Iceborne, The Outer Worlds, and the winner, again, Disco Elysium. Just doing incredible. I'm so happy for this little game. I really am. I'm a bit gutted, to be honest with you, that The Outer Worlds is one of the games that have basically been snubbed there, because I loved it so much. I really did. I was so ready for that game. Mm-hmm. And do you know what? I could have so easily have played Disco Elysium instead of it. And actually, I chose The Outer Worlds because it was on console. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's disappointing to see The Outer Worlds snubbed, but man, the more indie games that win these kind of awards, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And it's just awesome to see. It's just great.
Totally. I mean, yeah, we've said everything that needs to be said about Disco Elysium here. Spill a drop for The Outer Worlds, which has been blown out of the water here by a completely fresh developer on a new IP, and they kind of came along and ate Obsidian's lunch at the last minute. Like, they must have thought they were a shoe-in for this category, if nothing else, this year. And yeah, away it went. But good stuff for Disco Elysium. Cannot wait.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good when it comes to consoles. All right, next up was Score and Music.
So this is for Outstanding Music, inclusive of score, original song and or licensed soundtrack.
Nominees were Cadence of Hyrule, Devil May Cry 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, Sayonara Wild Hearts, and the winner, of course, Death Stranding. Now, I say of course because I definitely would have chose this had I played Death Stranding when we done our predictions episode. The way that the music is played in that is cinematic. It's Hollywood-esque in the way that the music is used. I just thought that because the music is the game for Sayonara Wild Hearts, I thought that might be anyway a good shout here. But in reality, it was only going one way there, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, Cadence of Hyrule, similarly to Sayonara, the music is kind of the game.
It's key to the game, is integral to the gameplay. It is what the game is. But having said all that as well, the way that Hideo Kojima uses the music to swell moments is just beautiful. It really is very well done.
That's like one of the things that Kojima does well in all of his games that's really understated. Like some of the ways that music was used in Metal Gear Solid 5 as well, it was superb, and Death Stranding just takes that to the next level. Like you say, it introduces music as a way to like break up the play and has that cinematic quality, and yeah, it's superb.
Next up was sports/racing game, a combination of two categories that obviously didn't deserve to be isolated themselves.
Yeah, so this is for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing game.
Nominees for this one are Dirt Rally 2.0, eFootball Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, F1 2019, FIFA 20, and the winner, thoroughly deserved as far as I'm concerned, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled.
Totally deserved winner.
A fairly weak.
I would say, particularly given that some of the bigger games there were kind of broken and buggy.
But as well, like I'm sure that a lot of those other games have their fans, and a lot of people probably play those other games. But as a kind of game for gamers and the kind of people who are voting on these awards, that was going in one direction and one direction only.
Totally, absolutely. But that's not to say it doesn't deserve it. It's great fun. It's really well put together. It's a remake of the best kart racer ever made, in my opinion. And
some Mario Kart fans' heads exploded there.
Come ahead.
Next up was strategy game.
So this is best game focused on real-time or turn-based strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform.
Nominees were Age of Wonders, Planetfall, Anno 1800, Total War, Three Kingdoms, Tropico 6, Wargroove, and the winner, Fire Emblem, Three Houses. Now, talk about games that were snubbed at these awards, by the way. Fire Emblem Three Houses, this was its only nomination, which quite frankly was an affront. But I would like to add that it won the Player's Choice Award.
Oh, did it? Eh? There you go. I mean, I guess it doesn't fit naturally into quite a lot of the other categories, but yeah, it was surprising.
It fucking Game of the Year.
Well, that is the one other place I expected to see it when the nominations came out. But
RPG.
Well, maybe. I guess it's
action, arguably.
It sort of touches all of those things, right? But it's like definitely more of a strategy game than it is any of those things.
I mean,
so
yes, but
yeah,
it felt truly snubbed here, and I was not a fan because it was a superb game. And in actual fact, it reviewed better than a lot of the games in a lot of the other categories.
Yeah, but like I've not touched any of these games, but you've had a lot of experience with Fire Emblem. Obviously, you've beat it once. Would you have put it in Game of Year contention?
Oh yeah, well, without a shadow of a doubt, yeah. Without question.
Fair enough, there you go. A ringing endorsement.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was great. It's absolutely great for what it is. You know what I mean? It's anime up to the nines, man. And if you're not into that, then quite genuinely you might not like it. But it sort of is what it is. But the actual battle mechanics are great. Are really, really good fun. Like, I really enjoy all that stuff. Shout out to Wargroove as well, which I also thought was a really, really interesting looking game. If it had went to that, I definitely wouldn't have been disappointed. Well, that's not true. I would have been devastated that Fire Emblem never won anything. But Wargroove, I know, was supposed to be an excellent game as well. So I would have been quite happy seeing it going there. Finally, VR/AR game loss.
So this was for the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform.
Nominations for this were Asgard's Wrath, Blood and Truth, No Man's Sky, Trover Saves the Universe, and the winner, Beat Saber. Quite frankly, I thought this was a one-choice category as well. You seem to feel differently.
Oh, not massively, not. Like, Beat Saber does seem like the obvious winner. I think in our predictions thing in the end, I took Asgard's Wrath partly because it created competition between us. But, like, that game got amazing reviews and write-ups at the time. I think they showed an advert for it during the Game Awards.
I'm sure they did, actually. Yeah.
And, like, I hadn't...
Among 35 Magic the Gathering.
Oh, Christ almighty, yeah. But I hadn't seen a lot of gameplay from it. And watching just that advert, I was like, this looks so much fun.
Really cool.
Yeah, so
I'm not knocking it at all, but I just thought, again, knowing the type of people who are voting on this, I think Beat Saber was always going to win.
Yeah.
Was always going to win. And speaking of competition between us, Lewis, I have absolutely scalped your arse.
I mean, it wasn't a scalping. I think you won it by, 4?
Well, exactly.
Conveniently the same number as Disco Elysium won.
And Outer Worlds didn't.
Well, yeah, so we picked the wrong indies.
Basically. So we decided off air that we would have a little wager on this, and we decided that the winner would make the other play a game. So I'm going to make you play a game, Lewis. I'm going to make you play a game that you've not finished yet. I have 2 options here. The first one is to beat the Radiance in Hollow Knight, or get the E ending in Nier Automata. The E ending sounds more difficult than that, actually.
Well, yeah, because I know how sort of the loop system works in that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thing in Hollow Knight is that you mentioned, so I don't...
It's like the final boss.
Okay.
It's like the big bad final boss.
But we said it would be under 30 hours. Is that achievable?
We would say that it would be under 30 hours. The Radiance is probably not achievable, but I know that you've already played some of that game, so I'm kind of claiming that. So you wouldn't be starting from scratch there. Getting the E ending in Nier Automata, I think probably is achievable and very close to 30 hours-ish. Yeah. So that sounds like 5 endings, but it's not really. So you do the A ending, the B ending, then you get either the C or the D ending, and then from the C or the D ending, you do a thing, and then that triggers the E ending. So it's 3 playthroughs, sort of. It's very difficult to describe what you have to do without spoiling that game.
Yeah.
So basically your options are finish Hollow Knight or start and finish Nier Automata.
Okay, do you want me to decide now?
Yeah. Let the listeners know, Lewis.
So yeah, just as a caveat, like I have always spoken about wanting to play. Both of these games have started Hollow Knight, haven't played a lot of it, and always kind of meant to go back to Nier Automata, particularly after you loved it when you played it. You really, really loved it.
Superb. It was definitely in my top 5 games of that year.
Yeah.
And a very strong year.
Yeah. I think to give myself a fighting chance at actually achieving this in time for the next Game Awards.
Yeah, so you have a whole year to do this as well.
But given,
which is, by the way, it's plenty enough time to do either of those things
quite
comfortably.
Totally is. And there's obviously just a lot of big games coming out in between times, though. So I think I'm going to take your Hollow Knight challenge because I do already have the game and I can more easily get into it. And I'm dying to as well. Like, it's one of those games that I've put on the back burner because of other games and I really want to get back to it.
My advice to you on this would be, don't be a hero, use a guide.
Yeah, I think I probably
honestly,
would in the end,
I don't think that it detracts from the experience at all. I used the guide quite not extensively, but I used the guide to know where I was going. Like, due to the Metroid A nature of it, you could be stumbling about for a while to try and find out where you've got to be. And I'm not one to put an unnecessary burden on you, knowing that the start of next year is going to be brutal for games. So, and also knowing that at the end of next year we've got a new generation of consoles. So.
Yeah, but I'm excited to try that, and I'll do my best to beat it. I'm sure it's quite a difficult game. I know you had a lot of
it's a very difficult game,
tough challenges in
it. The radiance is no joke.
Yeah. Well, I'll endeavour to get there. Like, it won't be for the want of trying if I don't actually beat it, but I am going to do my darndest by next Game Awards time. Awesome. Hopefully long before that.
I'm very excited to have a conversation with you after you finished it.
Yeah, good.
Okay, on to the announcements then.
Let's do it, yeah.
And we are back with our Game Awards special. This time, all the announcements list. So there was a huge amount of announcements here, but we won't go in depth into every single one of them because, quite frankly, the podcast would be 3 hours long. And we respect your time, ladies and gentlemen. However, it did kind of kick off with there was a kind of pre-show beforehand, wasn't it, when they did some of the awards as well, and there was some announcements there, like Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 is getting DLC. There was a weird Facebook game about being a refugee, which I thought was quite odd, but the guy who made it was an actual refugee, and I thought that was really cool. It was very interesting. Then there was a kind of short trailer for Man-Eater, which is that shark attack game, which looked absolutely wild. But then the first big trailer really was a new Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer. Man, see when that music comes on every single time, Lewis, it just sounds so good. They've redone the music so beautifully. It sounds incredible. It is like ball-churningly good. That music is disgusting. Incredible.
I'm glad you feel like that because I do not know the music in that game at all, so I did not realise that was such an iconic thing. But the trailer, yet again, I thought
it looks amazing.
It looks really superb.
I don't think there's too much else to say about it. I mean, it was literally just another CGI trailer, but God, I cannot wait for that. I'm probably anticipating that game more than I am Cyberpunk or Last of Us or anything, to be honest with you. I'm just so hyped for that game.
A game you've already played.
Well, again, it's kind of like Resident Evil 2 remake though, isn't it? Have I really played that? Probably not. This is going to be... I'm quite different. This is going to be pretty much like a new game. So then it was on to the show proper, opened by Churches of Scotland, representing, and an absolutely amazing orchestra as well that they were playing with, which I thought was really, really good. But then after that list, the real meat and potatoes announcement here. The new fucking Xbox, mate.
Yeah.
The new fucking Xbox, the Xbox Series X. My initial notes on this was dumb name, interesting shape.
Yeah.
The Xbox naming convention continues to baffle me to no end and infuriate me in quite a lot of ways, actually. And it looks like a PC tower.
It is exactly like a PC tower. They've gone sort of backwards to go forwards in terms of design. Really unusual to see this in the kind of modern console space.
Yeah, so just before we get into that, after the show, Phil Spencer was with me, says that it will have 4 times the CPU power of the One X and twice as much graphical power as the One X, and 12 teraflops, if any of you actually know what that means. I know that if there's more teraflops, that is good.
Flops equals good.
More flops equals good, yes. And apparently it will be capable of doing 8K 120 frames per second, which is a serious beast. It does have a disk drive. But that shape... So I measured my TV media unit because of the shape of it, because it's so deep now, because it basically looks like a computer tower, wouldn't fit inside my media unit where my PlayStation currently is.
I mean, I guess you might be able to turn it on its side like an old PC tower.
No, it doesn't fit.
Does it not fit that way either? Right.
I think it was 160 millimeters tall, maybe more than twice as much as the current PlayStation. I'm not sure how that compares quite to the Xbox. I know the Xbox probably stood a wee bit taller than the PlayStation anyway. I'm not sure how I feel about the shape. Not that I think it's designed badly. I think it actually looks quite cool in general. It just looks like a big monolith, which is awesome. But from a practical point of view, like PC gaming and console gaming are inherently different because console gaming is generally done in a living space in a comfortable area, whereas PC gaming is by and large done at a desk with a mouse and keyboard. And the reason that the consoles were designed the way that they were designed is so that they could blend in seamlessly with media units and what have you. And yeah, this one won't.
I mean, it's just another reason not to buy an Xbox, really, isn't it? No, I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've got their reasons for doing it. The name also suggests that there is going to be more than one version of this. I don't think you could possibly put the word series into your console family name.
And that's always been the chat, even from Phil Spencer himself. The family of consoles, we were talking last week about Anaconda and Lockhart. This very much looks as if it's going to be Anaconda, the all singing, all dancing
Exactly.
one. But we're probably going to be waiting on a cheaper model aiming at the kind of lower end of the market. Well, Lewis, I can tell you one reason why you might want to buy an Xbox. Lewis, they showed off a new Hellblade trailer by Ninja Theory. Lewis, there is no way that I can't not play that game. So it better be coming to PC.
That's the thing.
That trailer, though, was terrifying.
It was pretty out there, I thought.
It was very intense.
I was a little bit nervous after watching it. Like, don't get me wrong, it looks, as in terms of its visuals, utterly stunning.
Phil Spencer said that was rendered in engine.
One of my notes was, I don't believe that.
If that's true, if that is true, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just can't accept that. It's not like, it's certainly not like the full gameplay engine running. It's
not gameplay.
Yeah,
but it's the cinematic is created in the engine.
We'll see. Maybe. I mean, if that's what we're pointing towards as how high quality the next generation of games can be, then that's amazing. I did think in terms of the actual game itself, like, we both loved Hellblade. It was absolutely...
I can't not play the next one.
Yeah, it was one of my favourite games of this generation, absolutely. I thought it was pitched a bit funny, this. Again, one of my notes when watching it was just like, it feels like a slightly different spirit to the original game, which was, although kind of bombastic and terrifying and all over you, kind of about one person struggling and surviving on their own and working out what's happening around them. And this had Senua singing a fucking death metal song and seemingly leading some sort of like revolution against the hell or something.
Well, I don't know. Like, I have absolute faith in Ninja Theory, to be completely honest with you. I don't know what way they're going to take that. Obviously, the last game was pretty short and it was made on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
There was only, 3 different types of enemies in the entire game. The combat was kind of Soulsian, but in reality, a pretty stripped back, basic version of that. And the puzzles were kind of interesting and environmental, but I don't know, I feel as if with the might of Microsoft and Xbox behind them, God, they could make something really special.
Yeah, do you want that though? Like, I just don't know if I want that story and that kind of world ballooned up into AAA kind of megalith, you know?
I don't know. I hope that they don't tarnish it by doing that, obviously. Of course not. But I'm more envisioning like the feel of God of War, like that sort of feel to it. So you do feel isolated and a lot of that. You do feel as if, although it's like, and it's you and your son, and it's the two of you against the world kind of thing. But I don't know. It's had such a feeling of the world in playing God of War, very similar to how I felt playing Hellblade as well. Not least of which the sound design in that game, which was just absolutely remarkable. Again, if they can bring that, if they can elevate that without losing the sanctity of what it was originally, then I'm not going to lie to you, man. I've got total faith in Ninja Theory. I think that they've totally earned my faith, and I will play this game next generation, probably on a PC. All right, next up, there was an announcement of Control DLC, which looked quite cool. Basically, just looked like more Control, but it looked wild in the way that Control does.
Yeah.
But the next one I really want to talk about is Godfall.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is the new, a completely new IP from Gearbox, and this was, the world premiere of this new, what they described as a looter slasher game.
So it was made by Gearbox and Counterplay Games, and because Gearbox is involved, Melee Borderlands. Is that what we're looking at here?
I think basically, and I'm kind of okay with that as an idea, like set in.
Now that you've played Borderlands 3,
I kind of, from the little bit of that we've played, like, I trust that Gearbox can make a fun experience, and as much as like looter shooter type stuff isn't necessarily what I would go for, like, I think the idea of playing that in a Melee setting, sort of fantasy universe, action RPG. I think they said that it could be played solo or co-op as well. So it's got a lot going for it there. Like, I think it's quite an interesting idea.
Certainly. But the big thing here, is that this is a PlayStation 5 game. This is the first confirmed PlayStation 5 game. I mean, the future is now, exactly.
So it said holiday 2020 PS5.
It's an exclusive as well, it's worth pointing out.
It's coming to the Epic Store as well, I think, but it's...
console exclusive coming to the Epic Games Store as well. Yeah, that's correct. Then there was a couple of announcements. We'll just kind of gloss over these. Bravely Default 2, which was a very JRPG-looking JRPG. Then the first of many, many Magic the Gathering trailers that we got. This one was for Theros Beyond Death. After that, the next one I really want to talk about really is Prologue. This from PlayerUnknown.
So this is what PlayerUnknown, the actual guy, the original PlayerUnknown, has been working on since he, I think, stepped away from leading the actual company.
So I can't remember how that all worked out down. But basically, yes, he's taken a step back from that and is working on a single player game, and this is that single player game. Very, very little information in reality in the trailer, but it does look a lot more. I mean, it's a horror game, right? It's in some capacity, it looked scary.
Yeah, I mean, you basically just saw like a kind of forest scene in a sort of lightning storm. Hard to know anything about it, but definitely worth keeping an eye on because, you know, he really shook up the industry with what he was working on a few years ago. So who knows what the next thing is going to be.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be quite as revolutionary as that, but yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on without a shadow of a doubt. Next up, Lewis, was Ikumi Nakamura. She's the most endearing woman I think I've ever seen. She is amazing. I absolutely love her. I'm not quite sure how you can possibly sack that woman. Yeah, she seems to have lost her job somehow, but as far as I'm aware, still a free agent. But whatever her next game is, I'm fucking buying it. I can tell you that. After that, there was the Star Wars Fortnite crossover stuff. There was a whole bunch of stuff happening over there. I'm sure if you're a Fortnite fan, you know way more about it than we do. After that was something that took your eye, Sons of the Forest.
Yeah, just a great wee trailer. This from End Night, I believe, and again, very scant on details. I thought it was a very kind of stylish trailer. Kind of looks like there's stealth elements, survival horror-y elements. This is a follow-up to a 2014 game that completely passed me by called The Forest, but like, yeah, delving deeper into that world. I don't know how you felt about it. I just thought it was one of those trailers that on the night I was like, they just kind of caught me. So yeah,
they're doing something a wee bit different.
Definitely,
interesting. Yeah, definitely. After that was the first League of Legends game of the night, Lewis, called The Ruined King, and it's a story-driven, turn-based RPG which ticks all of Mark's boxes, and I'm probably going to buy it.
Fair enough, yeah. Is like the guys behind Darksiders were involved in this as well, right?
Yeah, yes, it seemed as if they were actually. That's not something I knew beforehand.
No.
As Riot Games and League of Legends are trying to kind of spin out and do more things than just League of Legends, this is one of their new games, and if it's a turn-based story-driven RPG, then I'm probably going to be interested in it, in reality.
I'm almost certainly going to ignore it.
Next up was the Dungeons and Dragons game called Dark Alliance, and this might be the worst trailer for any game I have ever seen. It was so bad. It looked as if all the characters were wearing like those GoPro helmets on, which made everything look awful.
Yeah.
And it was just the worst of the metal music that was playing behind it. I'm sorry, like if that's your favourite band, I mean, seek other music.
Take a look at yourself.
But man, that done nothing for me, I've got to say. What did do something for me though, Ori.
Yeah.
How stunning does that game look?
Yeah, Ori continues to just be extremely impressive visually.
Bit of sad news, Liz.
Delayed a month, so it's now coming out on March 11th. Coming straight to Xbox Game Pass though, which is good.
I'm going to wait for that sweet Switch port.
Yeah, I mean,
sweet Switch port.
You might be waiting a couple of years, but you think it'll come?
Christmas.
You think so? As soon as that? I would be surprised at that, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
6 months. I'm going to 6 months.
I just thought,
I thought I'll buy an old Xbox One at that point, and get them cheap.
Get it on, Game Pass on your PC, right?
Oh yeah, well I don't know, not everything. It's not always quite the same, but yeah, something to look into. Next up was the first game from Wolfeye.
Indeed it was, yeah. So this was some of the guys who had been involved in Arcane and had helped.
So it was a spin-off from no, not a spin-off actually, a new studio entirely, but it was the guys were from Arcane Studio who of course worked on.
They made Dishonored, they've been involved in loads of different things. They're really innovative game makers. So this again, as all of their previous games did, is very involved in interactivity. It's about giving players choices and options and how they approach the challenges within the game, and it's all about simulation. So it's called Weird West, and it's going to be a sort of really interesting, quirky looking, possibly isometric shooter set in a kind of Western environment.
Yeah, definitely isometric. Looks as if it's playing heavily on the RPG elements. It was actually kind of giving me Disco Elysium vibes.
Totally, yep.
Kind of Wild West with monsters.
Yep.
It looked fucking cool, man. Really stylish art style.
Very stylish, yeah. And backed by Devolver Digital, so it's bound to be kind of up there as one of the best and most interesting indie games next year.
Probably weird by name and weird by nature.
Yeah.
Next up was the full-length Ghost of Tsushima trailer. This is the one that was teased at the PlayStation State of Play that we discussed last week. Not too much given away still, unfortunately. I would have quite liked a wee bit more from this trailer, to be completely honest with you. Still looks beautiful. The whole trailer was scored by that orchestra that I just mentioned before, which was fucking cool. And it's coming in summer 2020, which probably means, I would imagine, late, to be honest with you. I'm probably thinking less June, more August.
I was kind of thinking July, actually, but yeah, like somewhere in that window. I've got to say exactly the same. Like, I thought it was a really gorgeous trailer that shows off how visually stunning that game is, but the whole time I was watching it going, how does this differ really from Sekiro? Not certain that it does.
Don't know.
You know?
I think it might be more, although everything, of course, as we were just talking about, is pulling from the Dark Souls style of combat, and for good reason. It looked a bit more actiony than that.
Yeah, possibly.
However, having said that, but that was just from that trailer, because the first trailer that we seen actually looked very, very Dark Soulsy. So I don't know. I'm feeling a bit better about this game now, because we've started to hear a bit more about it. We heard about it at the last State of Decay. It was very quiet for a very long period of time, and I think that was because they were focusing on Last of Us. But nonetheless, to hear nothing for such a long period of time was quite concerning. So I'm feeling a bit better about it. Sucker Punch are a great studio. PlayStation exclusives have been pretty stellar, so I'm just hoping it all comes together and it's a great game, to be honest. That's all I'm hoping for. And if it's another Sekiro, would that be that bad a thing?
No, not a bad thing at all, no.
After that was Gears Tactics. This is XCOM Gears, basically. Look quite cool, probably more interesting to me than actual Gears of War.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Then after that, Naraka Blade Point. This was the kind of NetEase game, which again looked kind of like Chinese Sekiro, basically. God, it looked fucking cool. It looked really.
Yeah, were you impressed with it?
Yeah, I just think like Mad Samurai shit was like pretty cool in general. So, and that's what it was full of. Yeah, I would go and check out a trailer for that anyway. I don't know. It kind of stood out to me. It probably stood out to me more than Ghost of Tsushima. To be honest, they never showed any bloody action.
At least it was a fully new thing, and like set in China by looks things rather than Japan, which is a bit different for these kind of games.
Yeah, that's true. After that was 925, which started with a really bizarre cold open with rabbits.
Yeah, it was a sort of fake out. Yeah,
it was very strange, but we've subsequently learned that it will be a team-based first-person tactical shooter. It's mad Rainbow Six vibes to me. Apparently, it's set in a world where corporations rule everything. What
a novel idea!
Yeah, exactly. How novel. Pulled the word right out of my mouth. Honestly, it never really gave much away. It looked fine. If you're into Rainbow Six, might be something to keep your eye on. The next one I really wanted to talk about was New World, Lewis. One, because the trailer looked really cool, until I learned it was an MMO by Amazon Games. Nonetheless, Amazon finally making a game. I was listening to Imran Khan on, I can't remember if it was one of their podcasts or whatever, but Imran Khan said that he'd played this game 4 years ago.
Wow, jeez.
4 years ago. And it was nothing like that trailer, apparently. But it's just interesting more than anything that Amazon are entering the game space. Finally, despite threatening to for quite a long period of time.
I mean, a bit like we've said about Google before. Let's see how long that kind of lasts. But yeah, it was a cool trailer. Not a bit scant on detail as well, but interesting enough.
I'll tell you what. See, because Amazon own Twitch, that'll be getting plenty of bumps on Twitch. I can tell you that for nothing. Next up was the second League of Legends game. This one was called Convergence. This one was a single-player action platformer that had time reversal mechanics. Again, ticking a lot of the boxes for Mark. And I thought it looked fucking cool. I thought it looked really good.
I mean, it's great that Riot is doing this.
It's just a tiny little cinematic, right?
Yeah.
So you can't read into it too much. But man, it's getting me excited. I'm not going to lie. I have no interest in League of Legends whatsoever. There are so many other games I would rather play than League of Legends. But now that they're finally making games that I am interested in, suddenly,
Cool, good that you're excited for it.
After that, Lewis, Wolf Among Us 2. This one, a bit of a surprise by Telltale Games. Telltale Games, of course, died, brought back to life, never had any of its IP because Starbound took The Walking Dead stuff anyway. But this was one of their original IPs that they managed to keep. Very well received, the first game. Wolf Among Us 2.
Great that this is happening. Yeah,
I'm really glad for that studio. They get so fucked over.
But remember as well though that some other people bought the name of Telltale up and that kind of thing. I think there's some.
That is what this is.
Yeah, so it is these other people, right? But it does look like. They haven't said with any certainty, but maybe some of those old developers are back involved. It would be great if that team was working on that game again because it had been announced originally a couple of years ago. I think
that is correct, and it was just assumed that it was
dead.
Tanked, yeah. I believe I can't remember what the whole story was at the time because it kind of got very complicated and very messy very quickly, but I'm sure that when whoever it is bought the name Telltale were trying to get the other developers back involved. Was it everyone? Almost certainly not. Of course not, but at least they were trying.
Maybe some, I mean? Yeah, exactly.
After that, Lewis, the Fast and the Furious Crossroads. Thoughts?
I mean, I have never been interested in Fast and Furious. This game looks like something that is roughly a decade out of time, maybe more than that.
It didn't look good.
No, it does not look good at all.
However, Vin Diesel came on stage to actually hand out the Game Award.
Yeah.
So Miyazaki got his award off of Vin Diesel, if you can believe it. Vin Diesel is a very buff man whose arms look uncomfortable. Like, that man just looked uncomfortable. He was very oddly shaped.
I mean, if you want to have words later on about your thoughts on Vin Diesel,
honestly,
we can do
I have a lot of words on Vin Diesel's body. I think I could have a whole other podcast about that.
We find another co-host for that
one. Anyway, it was doing nothing for me. I know that they were flashing up a lot of the kind of characters from the series.
Michelle Rodriguez was on stage.
Michelle Rodriguez was actually first on stage, and then it was revealed that Vin Diesel was also there. But
no one's asking for this, Mark.
Man, it looked real bad.
Yeah, it looks like
it looked quite actively. Again, a trailer. I always think anything can look good in a trailer.
Yeah.
But see if something looks bad in a trailer, that's a real warning sign.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks like a bad movie tie-in from the early 2000s. It looks like if you put it against a Need for Speed game from back then, it wouldn't be as good as that. So that's really not good for a game that's coming out in May 2020.
I suppose the final thing to mention here is the things that weren't there. So Half-Life Alyx, we know, pulled out at the very, very last minute, and probably left Jeff Keighley a bit high and dry, to be honest with you, because I wonder if there was supposed to be a one more thing, which there wasn't. There wasn't a one more thing at the Game Awards, which made it feel like it ended quite flat, which wasn't great, because I actually thought it was great overall. Like, I actually thought it was really, really good overall. So maybe that was going to be their one more thing, and that's a bit of a shame he never got that if it was. But there was strong rumours that there was going to be another Smash character there.
Yeah.
There wasn't. There was strong rumours that because Miyazaki was there, we would see more about Elden Ring, and we didn't. There was strong rumours about seeing more about the next Dragon Age game, which we didn't. There was strong rumours about seeing the new Harry Potter RPG that got leaked, 2 or 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
Didn't see that either. And there was also strong rumours that there would be a new Crash game, and we didn't see that.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard about the Crash game.
Yeah, the Crash game. Apparently there's supposed to be a new one.
There was obviously also
there's supposed to be some announcement building.
Yeah, and there was chat as well, as there always is these days, about Batman and about Rocksteady and WB Montreal.
WB Montreal, the chat was that, it'll be the Harry Potter thing, it won't be Batman. And then Rocksteady is ever just an enigma. God knows what.
Because partly though, it's like sometimes they say that they're not coming to a thing, and this time they hadn't, so everyone was kind of like, oh, maybe, and then it didn't happen again. There was also, I thought, really conspicuously kind of quiet on the night was Nintendo. There was just not very much Nintendo news at all, or nothing of any major significance.
No, that was another strong rumours that we might Breath of the Wild 2, whatever that ends up being called.
Yeah,
there was strong rumours as well that might be at the Game Awards as well, but no, nothing. Yeah,
nah.
Very, very quiet from Nintendo. I never really thought about that. To be honest with you, but yeah, you're right.
I didn't think it was a great show for announcements. I think there was some really decent stuff, but not a lot of absolute killers in the way that we've had in previous years. But
I mean, they announced a new Xbox.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's pretty awesome.
But it's almost like that should have been the and one more thing maybe. But
well, yeah, it probably should have. But I don't know. I don't know how that late in the game pulling Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how big a hole that left.
Totally.
Which I mean, sucks for Jeff Keighley, because I really think he does put a lot of hard work into this.
Yeah.
And fair play to him. I thought he put on a great show. I know he gets a lot of flack, but for me, great.
Yeah,
great.
I mean,
I'm just glad that it exists.
It's so easy to criticize these things, and award shows aren't like necessarily the best thing for an industry, but he puts heart and soul into it, and they really try. And I think it was a decent show altogether. All
right, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I guess we have to address our next podcast and the fact that we're rapidly approaching Christmas at a terrifying rate. So this will actually be our last podcast of the year.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little break over Christmas, as you should as well. Don't be listening to podcasts. Go and game. Talk to a family member, maybe.
That should be the other way around, but fair enough.
Well, depends on the family. Anyway, this will be our last podcast of the year. We'll have something out for you over the new year. But yeah, this will be our last one. Just kind of wanted to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone when it comes.
Absolutely, yeah. Merry Christmas. Thanks for tuning in to everything that we've done so far in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, It's absolutely been great. Like, if you're listening to this right now, just know that you've made this worth doing for us. Basically, we do put quite a lot of time and effort into this. So if you listen on a weekly basis, like, we really genuinely do appreciate that. We don't make any money doing this at all. In fact, we actively lose money doing this. But if folk are listening and folk are finding it interesting, this is just a bit of gratification, and it encourages us to keep going. So if you want us to keep doing it, keep listening.
Yes.
And we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah, and let us know on social media over Christmas what you've been playing and what games you've picked up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll still be on all the social media.
Yeah.
We just won't be doing the podcast, and we will definitely be back in the new year. This isn't some
The end.
this isn't some ominous thing. We'll definitely be back in the new year. But Lewis, I'd just like to remind everyone that you can find us on all the social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the lot. You can also find our written content over at PlayersToo.com. That's PlayerStoo.com. And if you could take 5 seconds to give us 5 stars, again, it really, really does mean a lot to us. It does a huge amount for the exposure of the show. And if you're feeling particularly generous over Christmas, then a wee 5-star review would be a fantastic present to us. And I would also just like to remind everyone that our play-along game for December is Inside. It won't be on our first show in the new year, actually, will it? It'll be on our second show in the new year, so a slight change this time around. So you've got an extra week, ladies and gentlemen, over Christmas to play Inside. But we'll talk about that in the new year as well. Very excited to get back into playing it. Superb little game, one of my favourite indie games ever, to be honest with you. And again, if you'd played Limbo with us before, there's so many parallels to that, and it's just great to discuss the two games back to back as well. Really looking forward to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, see you in the new year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.